What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we are going to be talking none other than looking at the meta, a glimpse of the meta. We always do this every Tuesday just so that we kind of get a good understanding what's going on with it, and I figure it's a great resource tool to get you guys more competitively involved. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So last week I was mentioning this site, which is called digitalgateopen.com. This is now becoming more and more of a value tool, in my opinion, being able to tell this is what event happened, this event happened, this event happened, you know, Netherlands online, dual coffee store offline, you know, being able to see now all these events in a more clearer fashion than we have in years, being able to see these breakdowns a lot better. I'm excited to see what we can get this information from. You know, this is great data resources to tell what decks are kind of doing extremely well, and I think Digital Gate might be the go-to one for foreseeable future, especially if we can get this to fill up more and more. I think we'll be in a good spot. Now there is also the Japanese side that we kind of get to use, and that's the Digimon CG guide. They give us a good understanding, you know, that red, purple Imperialdramon Royal Knights are still on the top end. Purple hybrid popping back into existence a little bit. It's gone up a few points, but nothing too crazy, but we'll talk about that further. You know, you got Sakuyamon, you got Chronicles, Aquatics, Zafaiga, all these great decks to kind of just get a good understanding on what JP's kind of doing, because they use, you know, Twitter to kind of pull and scrape from the top of Twitter, which is pretty good. Now, there is also the other option of using DigimonMeta.com. This gives you like the same information, tells you how many players, what place they got. You know, this is all great information across the board, and you kind of get a good understanding from this. So yeah, let's dive into what decks we're going to be looking at. So first off, I had to take this one from, you know, April 5th, you know, 8 players, but getting second place with Lucemon and 8 players is kind of crazy to me. For a local standing, you know, also playing Lumia Nene version wasn't on my card list. You know, being able to choose one of your other Digimon by playing one level 4 or lower Digimon from its Digivolution cards without paying its cost. Delete the chosen Digimon. On deletion, you may play one card with a play cost 5 or less under any of your tamers without paying its cost. Digicross 1 Nene, Shademon, and Lumiamon. No Lumia, is just straight up this card, but they also are playing Mako to help kind of search for your pieces, which you really need to be doing. And it's kind of funny, it's just Levia top end with a Lucemon X antibody as well. They are not playing the big Lucemon, but it's kind of cool just to see where they're going with the deck, right? Darkness Wave at a full playset. A lot of players are sleeping on this for trashing decks, but being able to, you know, if you have a yellow Digimon in play, return 1 yellow purple card, which you will have. This is a very powerful skill. I think we're going to see a lot more crazy shenanigans, especially even with just Biting Crush, being able to, you know, trash one of your 7th grade Demon Lords that you have. And if you got Levia and trash, you just set up them in the nastiest trap ever. So stuff like that does kind of add up. And I like innovation, especially when you get the first time kind of see something like this. Now, we did have, you know, DigiGuard United players 10 for this event. This one had a Beelzemon deck, and I know players haven't really seen where they were going with Beelzemon, but it's good to kind of just check it out and see what people are thinking. I think this is like the most expensive card in the deck. Rivals Barrage being a $2 card. I mean, a $10 card is also the second expensive. I think these two are the most. I know X Antibody has gone up a little by little, so just keep an eye out on that, but all in all, the rest is kind of dirt cheap. But it's kind of cool to see where they're going with it, you know, using 3 of the EX2, which again, you want to be using this because it answers a lot of threats. You know, this one is just straight up being able to apply pressure into attack that comes into the blast mode. Then you have Beelzemon. This is a rush for on play when digivolving, being able to fuel your trash and then be able to de-digivolve 2 of one of your opponent's Digimon is huge. All turns when this Digimon would leave the other than battle. You're not going to be activating the all turn skill, but the being able to de-digivolve and rush in is sometimes a key factor that just could win you the game, especially on a stack that was just played with, you know, if you were playing scrambles, I would say play scrambles if you're going to be playing this card at all, because if you can climb up, and if I remember correctly, is the warp one in here? Yeah, the warp one's in here. So this one digivolves for 3, ignoring its Digivolution cost. So, oh, when attacking, that's not gonna work. I forgot that needs to be a when attacking skill. But if you can climb up and get into this in a comfortable turn, maybe. Now, Eagle Nest had 41 players for their online win-a-box, and it's just good to see where Imperialdramon is kind of going with it. They're also playing Battle NPC, which is not bad by, if you have 2 or less, by placing 1 level 3 Digimon from your hand under this tamer, draw a card. I mean, being able to draw and filter for Battle NPC is not a bad trade-off. They are playing Paladin Mode Ace, which is very unique to this list specifically because most players would not be touching this, but it's kind of cool to see where they're going and thinking about, because if this is a great tech, go for it. Delete one of your opponent's level 3, then if it's your turn to your Digimon, at least getting the retail is kind of cute. This seems to be more commonplace nowadays, is the Salamon. Players are starting to play this just because it's another on play, be able to digivolve into your shenanigans, which you want to be doing anyway. So yeah, or if you just digivolve for 1 and raising and choke, and then you proceed to do all your shenanigans later. You know, you do have Vmon. When any of your Digimon, purple Digimon are played, this Digimon may digivolve into a free trait from your hand with its Digivolution cost reduced by 1. So it all has great synergy with the list. I like the tie. It's kind of cute. Just being able to have that extra security check means that you're going to be guaranteeing, no matter what line you had, that you'll be doing some chip damage, right? So 1 purple scramble seems to be it. Miss Memory Boost is an option, but you can also be playing Akihiro. Well, I think it's Akihiro. Whatever the guy is that does the Beelzemon shenanigans from the Savers, whatever he is, he's just going to do the same thing, but turn after turn. So, I don't know. I think Miss Memory Boost is great, but at the same time, you could do a lot with that card. Now we are going to take a look. We did have a first place Galaxy. I know people are sick and tired of Galaxy, but it is another deck that exists. They are playing, you know, Mega Seadramon X Antibody in the list just because the target can't be changed, which is great because that was one of the deck's greater issues, especially with like Magna X. You know, that wall turtle, you can clear out the security, but getting that final attack in was nigh impossible. Now you do have Invisimon being able to de-digivolve 2 of one of your opponent's Digimon. It's all great being able to combo this card in greatly, to be honest with you. Being able to, you know, take it, your turn, basically de-digivolve, get you back to level 5 and to get into the level 6 you want, and then this is a ticking time bomb that's going to come out afterwards. Really great, to be honest with you. I think this has a lot of synergy and the deck is really great, to be honest. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. Now, we do have Mugen. It's been a little bit since we've talked about Machinedramon in general, but it's really good. We got the Gabus, the Tapirs, the Ukus, Raremons, you know, Cyberdramon Ace, Rapids. They're teching in Wargroundmon X, which is not a bad idea just to get that extra security check, you know, and the Megadramon for the extra security check. They are only playing 1 of this Metal Gray. I'm always a skeptic because this one you want to see at least 2 to 3 of. I think you can get away without having, you know, blocker if you just get your analogs, but that's just my opinion and personal. You know, being able to have Oblivion to be able to not have your attack redirect is huge. Chimera gives an extra security check. You know, Vesper plus, you know, Jet Sylphie plus Daipen are boosters that just make sure you're big booty. Then you have Megadramon that de-digivolves when attacking. You just have Security Trash Boy with Metal Tyrannos and the Vespamon. So those are all great synergy, and the Rapid too. So This is all powerful skills because either you can just apply pressure by just dealing the damage yourself, or you're going to just be killing what your opponent has for digis. Now, this is a deck that people thought was dead, but apparently Dark Masters is still floating about and kicking, guys. The deck hasn't fallen off. They did switch over to this mat so that, you know, you're just going to be gaining a memory. You're just not going to be able to loop. So they upped the cost of Lament of Friendship, but they added also Underworld's Calling, an old callback, actually. So being able to, when this card is trashed, draw a card. This now helps dig your pieces faster because, again, you need to get to your second Duskmon sooner now. So Underworld's Calling makes a lot of sense to be able to do so. Jack Raid you can't now just spam the board with. You know, memory boost, warning shots, you know, all great stuff across the board. And Koichi, I don't know if this should be at 2 because I think this should be a little bit higher, but that's just me. But, you know, having the Dark Masters still be a viable strat, crazy. Now, we do have the Green Ranger. If you guys don't know what Green Ranger is, it's basically taking Leopardmon X plus Cherubimon Ace, and then having a bunch of other stuff with your leopards, being able to play your stuff, everything like that. And this list goes right into Chaos Vulture Arm, which is even scarier because you can just combine Cherubimon plus, you know, Leopardmon X, and boom. This is just really good all around, to be honest with you. And I think the deck has a lot going for it. This deck has adapted and evolved time after time, and it's really cool to see where they're think about, right? You know, you have Lilymon X, which is not normally played, but it seems like a good tech for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. This Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. You know, Agitar is going to be when one of your Digimon becomes suspended, gain a memory. You also have Grand Gale that'll let you attack. So it all adds up eventually, and your opponent has to be ready for when this deck kind of goes off. Now, we do have Examon taking first place at 331, so it's kind of good to see that go off. Mega Digimon Synthesis, one of your level 6 and a card in your hand may DNA Digivolve. That's not terrible, actually. I think that's pretty cool, and splashing in Hina just to make sure you can use this even if your opponent sets up is really solid across the board, to be honest with you. You know, Examon Ace, this list has some jams with it. You know, definitely the deck evolves and changes immediately once we get the new set, but for now, I think this is a good jamming list. Birds. Birds was another deck that kind of got hit ancient-wise, so they had to switch back to their old roots, which is not bad, to be honest with you. They are teching Oryumon, which is a very interesting when Digivolve and de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, then if it doing an attack, one of your... Okay, so we're not really caring about that, but it's that when Digivolve and de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon by 2 is really scary, and the piercing does add in a little bit of more pressure. So, all in all, great stuff across the board, to be honest. Now, LordKnightmon doing some crazy shenanigans in JP, 12 players. They are teching Darkdramon Ace, which, again, scapegoat, but on play when Digivolve and de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon, then delete all their Digimon with the lowest play cost. Board control is always scary, and especially because you can get bodies on the board pretty quickly. Darkdramon Ace is just one of those great cards. Kind of cute that also, if you have Darkdramon Ace and you have Shine-Greymon Ruin mode, you can easily force a collision, but I would not recommend doing the Ruin mode plus the Darkdramon Ace because you're going to self-destruct. And then you're going to give your opponent free memory. Now, again, Sakuyamon has been popping off, and not going to lie, this is no surprise. The deck was great. Was broken when you had the loop going, but the deck was doing fine without the loop, and it was proving that even beforehand. Just with the tech of Voldermon, the new Voldermon is just really strong in the deck. You know, being able to get your level 5s out of your, you know, creating tokens is really scary. You know, Sakuyamon X is going to do create a rush token. This regular Sakuyamon is just going to create a pipe fox token that's going to have blocker, which, again, being able to soak up some damage is really solid, to be honest. but you are playing the plug MP just to shut down opponents turtling or just infects in general. Now this one's a little more interesting on the Royal Knights category. They're playing Pillowmon, they're playing Imperialdramon, they're playing Kari. You know, I thought it was a little spicy with the Revelation as light as well. Just making your security a little bit more scarier sometimes does help out, because again, they're just hitting the proper beats, right? You want Gallimon X, you want Oryukin Mode Ace, you want Omnimon X Antibody, you want regular Omnimon, you want Alphamon, you want LordKnightmon, you want Magnamon as well. So again, it just hits all the beats and the plot points. It's a very interesting way of going about it, and I figured it was cute enough to actually show you guys. Now we do have 7 Great Demon Lords. This deck pops in and out of the format now. Just having, yeah, it's Akihiro. Cool. I was right. So Balphamon, Sleep, and Rage are both great cards. We'll probably see them get replaced with their upgraded X Antibody counterpart sooner than later. You know, having Shoto in the deck, making all your big booties, you know, blockers is really tough. You know, you have Kari, that's, you know, when an effect trashes this card, we're not really caring about this. When an effect removes a card from your security stack, by suspending this tamer, one of your opponent's Digimon gains a security attack -1 until the end of the opponent's turn. All great stuff. And then you have Queen's Device to help remove those Psychmons out on the board. So yeah, Revival from Darkness, you know, Biting Crush is scary. It's all got a lot of good strategy and game plan. They're playing the new Beelzemon just to trash the top 2 cards, then the Digimon gains blocker until the end of opponent's turn. And they have the regular. So all great things. I think this deck has a lot going for it still. Now we do have Jesmon. Jesmon's very scary, especially because how the deck plays. Being able to have Genkumon that's on play when digivolving one of your opponent's Digimon may digivolve. One of your Digimon may digivolve into a level 6 or lower card with Hawkmon in its name, or Royal Knight traits in your hand, or trash without paying its cost. You know, being able to come in for a whopping 8 cost is really scary. Then being able to get into Genkumon X as well. So digivolve to one of your opponent's Digimon, then if Genkumon X anybody's Digievolutions until the end of your opponent's turn, none of your Digimon are affected by your opponent's Digimon effects. Being able to mitigate this is crazy. In all turns, all your Digimon with Sistermon or Hawkmon in their name or Royal Knight traits gain Reboot and Blocker. Being able to give that blanket is scary as can be. You know, this all adds up to being very powerful across the board. So just keep that in mind. This deck has a lot going for it, especially with Sistermon CL being able to, you know, cause a Digievolution and you gain a memory shenanigans. Now, this is SetCon. I figured for the SetCon players, they would want to see this deck again. So this is yellow kind of hybrid SetCon, which is not terrible, to be honest with you. I mean, we're back at the point where if this deck can do well, March 22, I mean, hey, this is really solid, to be honest with you. I think we're going to see innovation sooner or later for SetCon because players are still on that deck like crazy. You know, they're going to want to play this, and I think this has a lot of merit. Just being able to have the lower end be able to draw you cards that can kind of just keep your life going. Venusmon being a threat, you know, Medieval Gallant, Death X's, all this can lead to being very scary for your opponent to deal with. So SetCon coming back is never everybody's cup of tea, but hey, just use the resources tool whenever you can, because I think it's a great resource tool. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.